Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the Ceilidh House. Now of course in less straitened times the Ceilidh House would be taking place at the Scottish Storytelling Centre in Edinburgh, and there would be social dancing, there would be contributions from the floor, stories and songs, but this is the next best thing. We've got a story for you from Jackie Ross, we've got some dancing from Kae Sakurai, but first some fiddle tunes from Robbie Greig. Robbie is a fiddler and singer, currently resident in Glasgow, originally from Edinburgh, who plays with bands like Inyal and Tanara. And for his selection for this edition of the Ceilidh House, he's chosen some tunes inspired by Gaelic singing, but is going to kick off with a set of reels, The Fashion of the Lasses, an unnamed Irish reel, and The Drunken Acrobat. Here he is, Robbie Greig.
Hello there, my name's Robbie Greig and I'm a fiddle player from the north side of Edinburgh, although I live in Glasgow now. But I'm absolutely delighted to be part of tonight's Ceilidh House session, and thanks very much for joining us. So I'm gonna start off. Well, I'm gonna play a few sort of Gaelic orientated sets of tunes for you on the fiddle. I'm going to start off with something a little bit different though. I'll start off with a set of tunes sort of in the spirit of like international community sort of, which is, there's a concept of course that we've all become more aware of over the past few months. Anyway, I'll start with a nice old Scottish tune called The Fashion of the Lasses, and crack into an Irish tune. And this Irish tune is one I got from a pal of mine who doesn't play a lot of Irish music, so it's a bit of a novelty for him to be playing Irish music, and he sent me this tune with the name Irish Reel Number 1, which I assume isn't the actual name of the tune. So if anyone does know the name of the tune, please do get in touch, because I couldn't find it anywhere. And I'll finish up with a tune by a Birmingham Irish fiddle player, a more modern tune, and his name is Colin Farrell, and the tune's called The Drunken Acrobat. So Scotland, Ireland and Birmingham represented, I suppose. Here we go. All right, thanks very much. I'll carry on with a few more Gaelic orientated tunes. I'll also do a really seamless fiddle swap that you're totally not going to notice. But I'll carry on with a lovely old Gaelic, or the melody of a lovely old Gaelic song, which I got from Alistair MacArthur, from the singing of Alistair MacArthur. And the song is called Iegach Dduich, or the Sprig of Heather. And it's the poet sort of describes how he's on a cold grey street in Glasgow, and he finds this sprig of heather on the pavement, and it sort of, he picks it up and he wonders where it came from, and it sort of sparks feelings of homesickness for him. He's from the Western Isles, of course, and so like a lot with a lot of these Gaelic numbers, there's no like happy resolution at the end, but I like to think eventually found a community somewhere on the mainland where he was happy. So Iegach Dduich, anyway, the Sprig of Heather. Thanks very much. So yeah, thanks so much for watching and listening, and thanks also to the Storytelling Centre and Daniel and Dave and everybody else at the Storytelling Centre for having me on today. Hope you're enjoying your evening. I'm sure there's a lot of other cool stuff to come, or has already come. So I'll finish up with a set of Gaelic strathspeys and reels, and start off with a tune called Ish Gosa Kalu Katal, Tell Me Where You're Sleeping. And so it's good to do a wee skittish too, if you fancy. I should have said at the start, if you fancy a bit of dancing or clapping or whatever. I know it's a bit difficult in like a virtual ceilidh, but feel free to take part any way you like. Ish Gosa Kalu Katal, sold in Jan, and more modern tune, the Reunion Reel. Thanks again. Cheers.
Robbie Greig there. Our storyteller is Jackie Ross. And Jackie is from Aberdeenshire in the northeast of Scotland and likes to tell tales in her own mother tongue, very much like her mentor, Stanley Robertson, the great traveller storyteller. And here's a story that Jackie learned directly from Stanley. It's a Jack tale. Jackie Ross.
Now this story is about a lad called Jack. And Jack was a gardener, and him and his mother bid in a wee housie on an estate owned by the king of the land. Jack was a recht fine lad. He was aye helpful to folk, good-natured, and awfu' good at his job. Well, ae day, he got word that the king was na doing off a wheel. In fact, he was gae nae wheel a'thegither, and Jack got up to the castle to speer after him. Well, when he got here, a doctor telled Jack, I think the king is gone to die. There's nae medicine I can find that's going to help him ava. I'm real worried about him. And the poor princess, well, she was fair sair made, for she fairly loved her feather, and she thought that he was a goner. In fact, she had decreed that if anybody could cure her feather, she would marry him. And she'd even gone as far as to send a message to the Laird of the Black Earth to come and see if his magical powers could revive a king. Well, when Jack heard this, he was nae ower pleased, for he didn't want the bonny princess to have to marry the king of the Black Earth. And he says, Oh, princess, na, you canna do that. I'll ging and see if I can find a well of life and tuck back some o' its waters and see if that'll revive a king. But the princess shook her head. She says, Oh, Jack, that would have been awfu' fine, but I've already sent word to the Laird of the Black Earth. He'll be here afore a week's out. Oh, says Jack. Well, in that case, I mun awa and see if I can get back afore he arrives. I'll search a hell world to try and find a well of life's water, e'en though a day in the event. Well, off Jack goes and tells his mother that he's going awa to look for a well of life's water. And she makes him a big bannock to see him on his way, and she sends him off with a blessing. Well, Jack travels a hell day long, and michty, he has to stop to hae a bitty to eat. And he's just sitting down haeing a wee munch on the bannock, when a wee birdie comes and sits in his shoulder. Weel, wee thing, what are you doing? You're off a tame. What do you needin? And the wee birdie says, I'll hae a wee bit of your bannock. I kent you would be a fine loon to sit down and spectal. Well, Jack gives a birdie a bit of his bannock, and a birdie speers for a wattle. And when Jack tells him he's trying to find the water of life's well, so that he can save a king, the birdie says, Well, take een of my feathers out of my tail and fling it up into the air, and it'll give you the recht direction. Oh, Jack said, Thank you very much, because he'd no idea if it white again. So he pulled the feather out of the birdie's tail and flung it up into the air. Well, it get up and it get down and it get all the way round, and then it headed out to the east. And Jack headed out after it. Well, he get on for a hell day, and at the end of the day, they come to this muckle garden with a great big stone guardhouse recht at the edge of it. And the wee birdie settled back down on Jack's shoulder and said, Jack, there's a muckle cat guards a garden, and if you're nae careful, it'll gobble you up. Oh me, says Jack, how am I going to get it a well? Well, said the birdie, what you need to do is ging and catch a muckle fish out of the burren and get some cream and try and tryst the cat out of the guardhouse. So that's what Jack did. He got down to the burren and he fished and caught himself a big perch. And he got to the wee ferrum down the road and he cut up some firewood and teen some fine creamy milk as his payment. Syne he got back, and just a bit down the road for the guardhouse, he set up a fire and started to cook a perch. Oh, and the smell was divine. Oh, it was sizzling awa in a pan, turning bonny and brown. And fin the cat smelt, oh, with a fine savour. Oh, it was recht bra. Now fin the cat smelt the fine fish, oh, his savour got round his heart, and he wanted some. So he got up to the loon and he says, oh, "Fit would I need to gie ye to get a suppy of your fish?" Well, Jock said, "I'll tell you fit, if you let me fill my juggie of water for the well of life, then you can hae the hell of my fish." "It's a deal," said the cat, "but I have to warn you that I will come after you as soon as I'm finished eating this fish. And if I catch you, you'll be a goner." Well, Jock said it was a deal, and off he ran, fast as he could, recht into the garden, recht up to the well of life's water. And he rode down the pail. Oh, it was a great deep well, and the pail had gone down and down and down. But eventually he heard a splash, and he started to row back up the bucket. Well, meanwhile, the cat was supping awa to fish. Oh, and it was recht tasty. In fact, it was so tasty that the cat was taking his time and savouring every moofie. Oh, and when he was near through, he was licking at the plate. And that good Jock just enough time to pour the water into his juggie, put a stopper on, and start to run towards the gatehouse. Well, when the cat finished, he was running towards the gatehouse and and it was eeksy peeksy if I was going to get there first. But Jock just managed to get out afore the cat arrived. And the cat licked his lips. And he says, "Well, Jock, that was a recht fine fish, and I'm quite pleased I didn't have to eat you and a." Well, Jock set off for home. Here he had in his possession the water of life, and he was hoping that would be enough to save a king, and that he would get back afore the king of the laird of the Black Earth had arrived at the castle. Well, he walked on a day, but come night he thought he would hae to hae a rest. He'd hae to hae a wee sleep. And a wee birdie come flapping down onto his shoulder, and he said, "Dinna you worry, Jock. You hae a wee sleep, and I'll look out for the water of life. I'll keep an eye on the juggie and make sure nae harm come tilt." Well, Jock drops off to sleep, and afore long a great muckle craw comes down and starts trying to get a hod of the juggie of water. And a wee bird goes chip, 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 and Jock's lug and wakens him up, and Jock chases awa the craw. Well, the water is safe, and the he'd gone the next day and the travel a day, but at nicht Jock thinks he mun hae a wee rest. So he sits down, and a wee birdie comes back and tells him, "You hae a sleep, my loon, and I'll keep an eye on a juggie of water." Well, Jock has hardly closed his een, when down comes a muckle raven. And the raven tries to get a hod of the juggie of water, but the birdie goes chip, 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 and wakens Jock up, and Jock chases awa the muckle bird. Well, the next day they travel on, and oh me, by the end of the day, Jock is fair buggled. Oh, he can barely keep his ear open, and a wee birdie comes and says, "Just you hae a rest, Jock, aye, and I'll keep an eye in the water of life." Well, Jock falls into a soon sleep. Oh, he is fair buggled, and he's sleeping a sleep of the deed. So fin this muckle rook comes down, the wee birdie goes chip, 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 and Jock doesn't even stir. Chip, 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 and Jock is still soon asleep. Chip, 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 chip. There's nae chance o' Jock wakening up at all. So the wee birdie tries to fend off this muckle bird, and the rook is pecking and pecking at the wee birdie, and the poor thing falls dead to the ground. And the muckle rook pecks awa at the juggie of the water of life, and it's only when the tap bursts open and the cauld water hits Jack in the belly that he wakens up. And he sees what's happening, so he grabs up the juggie and he shows awa the bird. But oh michty, there's just a wee dribble of water at the bottom of the juggie. Jack puts a stopper in and he sees a poor wee birdie dead in the ground. Oh, he's fair sorry. He picks up the wee birdie and ach's a tear in his ee, 'cause he kens if he hadn't been sleeping, he would ha' saved the birdie and he would ha' saved the water and a'. Well, he puts the birdie in his pooch and he goes to the castle. And he arrives back just in time to hear the Laird of the Black Earth propose to the princess. He says, I ken I'll manage to cure the king, so you'll hae to marry me. And Jack bursts into the king's bedroom just as the princess is awa to agree to this marriage. And he says, Stop, stop, I've got a wee dribble o' the water of life here. Let me try that first. And he goes and he puts a wee drappy of water on a king's lips. And the king is instantly revived. Oh, well, abody is fair tricket, for the kint that didn't want the Laird of the Black Earth to marry the princess, they suspected that he had something to do with the king's illness after a'. So he was banished out of the kingdom. And the princess was fair delighted. And the king said that Jack mun marry her. And the princess was fair delighted about that and a'. But Jack was looking real sad kind, and the princess speered if it was wrong. And he ta'en a wee birdie out o' his pooch, and he said, "Es wee birdie saved the water and kept me in the right direction, and a poor thing deet for a' its troubles." And the princess said, "But Jack, there's a wee drop o' the water of life left. Fit what I nae try it on your birdie." And so Jack put a wee last drop of water recht into the birdie's beak, and up it went, and it flew round the room, and then drap it to the floor. But syne it turned in to the king's faithful servant, for had disappeared a puckle month syne. Nobody had kent far he'd gone. But here he was, and he telled them the story. He said he was out in the woods picking some wild berries when he come upon the Laird of the Black Earth speaking to the craw and the raven and the rook, and they were plotting against the king. And the plan was to make the king gae nae wheel, and if anybody tried to ging and find the water of life, the birds would die for him. Well, the Laird of the Black Earth had discovered the faithful servant lugging in, and he'd turned him into a wee birdie. And the rook and the raven and the craw had tried to peck him to death, but he'd managed to escape and hide until he'd come upon Jack. Oh, and he was recht sair tricket to find Jack, and the twa of them together had saved the king. And now Jack and the princess would be married. And when Jack brought his mother to the castle, she fair fell in love with the faithful servant, and they twa were married and a'. And sae the whole lot of them lived happily ever after.
Kae Sakurai is a dancer who was originally interested in Highland dancing, but when she relocated to Scotland from her native Japan, she got interested in Scottish step dancing and became one of our best exponents of that particular art. And here, with some examples, accompanied by her husband Michael Smith on fiddle, is Kae Sakurai.
Hello, welcome to Ceilidh House. My name is Kae Sakurai, and here my husband Michael Smith.
Hello, hello.
I will do some step dancing with Michael's fiddle today. The first set is Strathspey and Reel.
The tunes are The Hogs of Cromdale, which is a traditional Scottish Strathspey, and Johnny Wilmot's The Reel, which is a Cape Breton tune, I think, by Otis Thomas.
I'm doing online step dance classes on Saturday morning with Michael's live music. We started since lockdown. I do 4 weeks for block, and we have just finished block 4. It's a bit crazy. Block 5 will be start at 1st of August. And there are some spaces left, so if you are interested in, please get in touch. Both classes, basics and repertoire classes, are available. So please check Sound of Dance Project Facebook page and you can find more details. Today's program is chosen a lot from online classes, so you can see what we would learn at repertoire class. So next set is set of jigs.
Yes.
The first one is 9/8.
It's a tune called Farewell to Wally Range, which was written by Michael McGoldrick. And the second one is 6/8, and it's a traditional Scottish one called Lads of Dunse.
you. The last dance is a reel called Roppongi Reel. Written by Michael Smith.
That's me.
We had a wedding party at Roppongi in Tokyo
Lucky me.
in 2007. Michael wrote a tune just after the wedding party, but never got it out in public. So I thought that would be a good, great opportunity to share with you. And so I choreographed with this for the online classes, and I hope you enjoy it. And I would like to thank Traditional Arts and Culture Scotland and Joan Traditional Dance Forum Scotland. Thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you.
Kae Sakurai and Michael Smith. Well, that's it for this edition of the Ceilidh House. It just remains for me to thank our contributors, Robbie Greig with his fiddle, Jackie Ross with her story, and on feet and fiddle, Kae Sakurai and Michael Smith. Hope to see you next time. Bye for now.